grateful every day for the privilege of serving in the Unitarian Universalist ministry. Rick never told me that he saw that I belonged in the pulpit from the first time he saw me. Dear ones, I find myself a little anxious this morning. My head tells me I should not be. But my heart is full. I love you. And, well, I know that many of you love me too. But we're talking about making another step in our relationship together. It's the kind of decision that's important. And I think that's why there's a little more anxiety in me this morning than normally. Because it's important. Because we are in liminal space. Do you know that word? I learned, some of you probably do. I learned that word really in seminary. Liminal means we're on the threshold of something new. The threshold of an important choice. Now, we shouldn't take this step of increasing our commitment to each other just because I'm here, or even just because we like each other. We should do this because we both, you and I, see this as the future, for the present moment, the future of ministry at the Church of the Restoration. On April 15th, after our worship service that day, members of the congregation will vote about calling me to be your settled minister. And this afternoon, as I said before, the Committee on Ministry will lead a couple of small groups. There will be some other groups later, and I hope that all members will be able to participate in some small group face-to-face discussion about this decision, this commitment. So what is this commitment? Some of you are clear. You've been in this congregation for a long time. Some of you haven't been here a long time. So the difference between a consulting minister and a called and settled minister. The simple difference is that as consulting minister, I serve on an intentionally limited and definite time period. We have a letter of agreement that ends June 30th, 2011. And although this status could be continued for another year, consulting ministry remains intentionally time limited. It's something like hiring a temp worker. You got a temp minister. So the decision to call a settled minister comes from the congregation. The board hires a consulting minister. It's something like going from being a temp worker to being a tenured professor or teacher. Settled minister is called by the congregation. A significant supermajority of the congregation must affirm that you would like me to continue as your minister indefinitely. There's no outside authority, no bishop, no district superintendent like the Methodists have to tell the congregation who your minister should be or how long that ministry should last. A called and settled minister commits to being with you indefinitely, as long as we all agree that the ministry is still meaningful, is still fruitful and productive. Settled ministry allows us to deepen our commitment, to deepen our relationships with each other. It allows us to grow and learn together. So I know already there are some questions about that, and I hope that I will hear all your questions and concerns over the next 2 months. But the first question that I heard is whether or not I want to be called and settled with you. So I want to tell you, sometime in December, I realized that my visions, my thinking about the church and the work here was all future-oriented. Jane and I would talk about what we wanted to do with music, and talk to Katie about RE and the worship associates about whether or not they wanted to be worship associates next year. But somehow, and I think it was because I know that I have to find a new apartment, it occurred to me that I am actually only contracted to be here until June. And maybe I shouldn't sign a year-long lease for a new apartment. Around that same time, a denominational leader invited me to apply for a job which would allow me to mostly work from my home in Carlisle. I told her no. I said some of this out loud to a board member who then said to me, "Can we call you now?" Last year some people had asked about calling me, and I said no, it was too soon then. We should get to know each other more. This time, I said yes.